think it's time for us to dive into the Sam Pepper controversy. We've been getting, Pop Trigger, myself, a lot of tweets about Sam Pepper and people calling him out, people exposing him. Laci Green just this morning uploaded a new video exposing him. Of course, Sam Pepper is the YouTube star, also was on Big Brother UK. I think that's what kind of launched his stardom and into YouTube. He's also a prankster, and it was his recent prank video that kind of unleashed this firestorm. I should say it did unleash this firestorm. And in this video, if you guys aren't familiar with it, he asks directions from unsuspecting strangers. And while he's asking them directions, women, he would grab their ass, pinch their butt. And there is so many uncomfortable moments in the video where one girl's like, stop touching me, and then he continues to. And he really is making light of things that women have to deal with on a daily basis, sexual assault and harassment. And Laci Green posted an open letter to him a few days ago, and it's gotten a lot of responses. A lot of people jumped on her bandwagon, and it was respectful. She said, listen, these are really offensive videos, and you're making light of sexual assault and sexual harassment, and you need to stop doing this. And Mamrie Hart and Hannah Hart and Tyler Oakley, they all signed this 100,000 signatures like that. Then Sam Pepper had a response video, and his excuse was, I was doing a social experiment, and that unleashed a whole nother firestorm, because then a lot of people, young girls, have allegations that they have been victims of his sexual harassment and of his sexual assault. We're gonna talk about all that, including one girl that uploaded a video. Her name is This Be Dotti. Really courageous video. We'll talk about that, as well as YouTube stance. Apparently he's blacklisted from certain events like VidCon. And gosh, there's so much here. I don't even know where to begin. So I'd first like to just talk to you guys about your thoughts on Sam Pepper, this controversy, prank videos in general.
I think prank videos, number one, I think a lot of them are fake, because if your living is to make prank videos, you need, the cameras are always there, you need releases, like, I mean, we've worked in this world, yes, whatever, and it's just a great way to make money. So if he says, hey, this was staged, as wrong as it is, I believe that, because that's how you make the money. Because if he did it the way like it really looks as a viewer, he wouldn't be able to pull it off, and he would not be making that money and pulling in those views. That doesn't make it right, because he's exploiting, you know what I mean? He's exploiting women and everything like that. But I mean, that's the kind of.
He said it was staged. He said they gave their consent.
He said they gave
after the fact.
I know, but I believe a lot of those are staged. Personal thing.
I think in general, prank videos are. I think the definition of prank has gotten a little wonky over the past few years.
I agree. What should it be?
What should be like what's a prank is, yes, in that moment maybe I'm scared or whatever it is, but after the fact I can too see the humor in this. What has been happening is there have been a slew of different kinds of prank videos.
Setting yourself on fire.
You know, things that are clearly just illogical. Also things that are racially offensive, that there have been like very popular videos. I think we talked about it here on Pop Trigger. And now and this is not just one video that he's done. He's done several of these. There's a history of this behavior, and I do think that we're responsible for the things that we do and say, and especially when you're in the public eye, you have your whether or not it's a fair thing to say, what you say and do puts out, continues to make a way of thinking and being and doing and behaving pervasive.
Yeah, and
so you're giving permission to something.
Yeah, it normalizes absolutely awful behavior. This is assault. This is what this is. It's sexual harassment. It's violating women. Clearly, if you look at the videos, the women are incredibly uncomfortable. They're upset and they're scared. And that's really unfair to put a woman in a position like that when she has not consented before. He argues that he has consent, but really what he's probably talking about is just like a release form afterwards. He never got consent to touch the women in his videos.
Which is why they say, stop touching me.
And look, I just have to say, I have a huge problem with the fact that he's trying to spin this and say that really all I was trying to do is bring awareness to the fact that men can be assaulted too. What? That doesn't even make sense. Like, do you think I'm a fucking idiot? Not make sense,
but it's also you not taking responsibility for what people are calling you out on.
Right.
And I can understand that. People, as an adult, I've made mistakes myself. I'm sure I'll continue to make mistakes because I'm human. But I think the point of it is these fellow YouTubers, your compatriots, your community says to you, hey, this is what this was really doing. You may not have intended it to be that way, but take a step back and look at it. This is what what that open letter is essentially saying. And the fact that they got that kind of response should have said to you, maybe I should have paid attention to it. Instead, you disavow responsibility by saying, well, really, it's a social experiment, and I was really trying to comment on all of these other things.
And that's why it unleashed the response from a lot of these allegations. And we'll talk about that. And I think you're absolutely right, everybody here, because the fact that he is trying to excuse the behavior instead of trying to be objective and self-aware and say, wow,
I didn't think of it that way when I was doing it, which happens.
Right. And
I've done it.
Right. And he is, considering all of these allegations, and there's proof attached to a number of them, that he is a predator.
Yeah.
When you are 25 years old and you are asking 15, 14-year-old girls to send you naked photos and then go out on dates with them and then grope them, and if they get upset.
That's been running rampant in YouTube at these conventions.
Really?
We all know, yes. I mean, there's just, think of the volume of women, I'm just going to put it, there's a volume of women and the volume of young dudes or whatever that have that power.
Yeah.
It's like compressed in like this kind of powder keg of like shit that's going wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not excuse it anymore. Let's call it
for reflective of only YouTube.
Musicians.
The power of fandom in general.
Thank you. So then let's not excuse it because he is a celebrity. Let's call it for what it is. Again, if this was your sister, if this was your mother, if this was your daughter, you would be outraged. So please, because I read some of the commentary, of course, a lot of people are outraged, rightfully so, and a lot of people are making excuses.
Right.
Just because he's famous people and you love and adore him, please, let's not excuse this type of behavior and turn a blind eye. This is something that we need to deal with. And I would have so much respect for him if he said, whoa, I guess I need counseling, or I need treatment, or I was brought up this way.
A 30-second I'm sorry video would have done him, then probably all that other stuff. If I had all that stuff, like where I had a shady past, I would do anything not to have that come out, right? Yeah. And he seems like wasn't worried about that coming out, which I thought was kind of nuts.
Yikes.
But it also speaks to the power of again, fandom. Because by being fans of someone and supporting them, what you're doing is in some ways you're supporting their career and for supporting them economically, but you're also feeding that ego. And if that person is not developed mentally at a place where they can understand that really they're supporting your art and it's not only about you and you're nothing without your fans, if they're not at that place mentally, then what they end up doing is letting it go to their heads and letting it inflate their sense of self-worth in comparison to another human being. Right. So they now can say, I'm worth this and I can treat you anyway because you're not worth as much as I am.
Amen, girl. And also, this be Dotti. This was a girl that apparently went on a date with Sam Pepper a couple of years ago.
When she was 16, she said.
And he was 22, and she describes the date experience, and basically she was not comfortable with doing anything but kissing, and he continued to grope her, and when she wasn't putting out, he pretty much bailed on her, and she felt so guilty and so shitty. Even the next day, because she was a fan of his, she wrote him and said, I'm sorry that you feel this way, and tried to continue on because of the fandom, and he shut her down, and then she realized what a jerk he is. And again, we need to have this dialogue because it is running rampant in our culture today. There's this rape culture. There's this war against women. And I was reading more of the responses, once again, of people excusing the behavior. Why didn't she come out if she was so butthurt about it? Why didn't she come forward beforehand? And all these other allegations. Right. Well, because
she's 16.
And because of even if you're 30 years old.
Exactly.
When you're a victim, you're afraid that people are going to blame you. You're afraid of the consequences. It's how do people not understand that?
I love that you bring up the term rape culture because it's very, very true, and it's very, very prominent, and it's happened, fortunately not to me, but in my own life, where people very close to me have been victims of sexual assault and then have been turned around and blamed, not just by men. Well, I'd love to say it's, oh, men are the problem. No, the people at the forefront saying, well, if you weren't such a slut, or if you didn't dress like that, if you didn't sleep with this other guy, people wouldn't think this of you. That has no bearing on one individual's negative behavior against another woman. Yes. That's not okay under any circumstances. I could walk around buck-ass naked. That does not give you the right to assault me.
Thank you. And young men, too. There's young men.
True.
There's a lot of young men out there as well that are victims of sexual assault and sexual abuse. And they, too, especially if it's like a hot teacher that had a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you see all these people being like, why is he complaining? He scored with a hot teacher. Ugh, he's 13 years old. You guys, stop it already. So we, the people perpetuating these injustices by excusing it, need to stop too. Right. I don't even know where to go from here.
Or by victim blaming, because that's another thing that we do, where we somehow ascribe the responsibility for what has transpired to the person who was victimized.
Right.
That's not okay.
What do you guys think that YouTube should do more of? Like, the thing that I thought at first was the sense that you can flag something for sexual content, but then it has nothing, you can't flag something for sexual harassment on some of these prank videos. You shouldn't lump the two together. Sexual content and sexual
maybe
harassment.
expanding the
yes,
criteria.
I think it should be two different options, because then it can put it in its own category and it can shine light there.
I think the real talk is the money talks. The revenue is coming in. I know people who've gotten flagged for very tiny things with, very low, but if somebody who's really, really popular, they get away with,
that's not
because the money,
okay.
well, that's, I mean, I totally agree, obviously.
I actually think there's a simpler solution of disclosure. So when we upload videos to YouTube, we have to say that, excuse me, we have to say that we own the content and certain things like that. So I think it's as simple as having it's almost like an agreement that you're signing that includes that it doesn't include certain things. And by checking those things, you're saying, I understand what these things are. My content that I'm uploading doesn't include those things. That way, I am personally then accountable when that proves to not be the case.
It's a responsible position
It's a
to be in as a
responsibility thing,
YouTuber.
because
You're rewarded online for being an asshole. You are rewarded
absolutely
for
are.
more than YouTube used to be like, comedy and music and stuff like that, good or bad. Now it's just like you're
Violence,
rewarded,
yeah.
for being like a mean-spirited person.
Right.
Lisette, do you like the idea that they did blacklist him from these events because young YouTubers are running around? And do you think that's the reason why they blacklisted him, or just so they could set a principle?
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea that they blacklisted him. One, because he's putting out content that's a detriment to the community, but two, because he himself has accosted women at these events. Like many fans have said that, you know what, he grabbed my ass, or he said really sexual, inappropriate things to me at these events. So he shouldn't be there. He's not acting like a responsible adult, and he should be banned from these events. It's the least you can do.
There's people going to these events that are in the same boat. They just don't, it's not out there.
Okay,
I'm just
that
saying
needs to be spread.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, by banning him, it
might send a message.
sends a message to those people who maybe think that their behavior is excused.
Get away with it.
It sets a precedent.
I think that's
Oh,
great.
maybe I shouldn't do that. It'll give them pause, even if it's not for the right reasons. I just give them pause. They're afraid of repercussions. It's still at least making
I don't
them
think people
question.
also thought that these events would be as big as they are. So it's like there's just new things you have to realize. It was like, oh, we didn't realize we were going to have to ban people.
Grows,
as
right.
anything grows, yeah. But I think it's a great precedent to
Yeah,
set.
and this is a developing story as well, because a lot of this is now
coming out as
now being, I think, investigated by the police. So I'm glad that we had this discussion, because I think it really shines a light on the broader issue here, which is rape culture and which is sexual harassment and just fandom. I thought that was a really good point too. So please, I want you guys to continue this discussion. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. We love you guys. We'll see you guys all next time on Pop Trigger.